Welcome back. It's time to focus once again on your money. It's Wealth Wednesday. Shandie Froese, investment advisor with TD Wealth, joins us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
One thing we're going to focus on today is what to consider when gifting to your grandchildren. Now, the very first thing you want to consider is when to do it. Now, do you want to do it when you are still alive and can see those benefits, or do you do it afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been told one of the best parts about being a grandparent is getting to spoil your grandchildren. So we get this question quite frequently. And so yes, the first thing that you want to decide on is when to do it. And so of course the benefit of doing it while you're alive is you get to see them enjoy that gift, but you really need to make sure that you can spare that money and that you are not going to need it. So as an investment advisor and financial planner, one thing that we will do with our clients is go through several different scenarios whereby we project out if they have excessive long-term care needs or maybe a longer life expectancy. That way they have the peace of mind knowing that yes, they are not going to need that money. And if you can't honestly say that, then I do recommend waiting and having it dispersed through your will.
Shandie, what are the different ways you can do it? For example, if you wanted to gift cash.
Right, yeah, so cash is definitely a good way to do it. However, things to consider. So let's say, as an example, you wanted to gift $200,000 in cash. You always want to consider that that's after tax. And so if you're in the highest tax bracket, that would be $300,000 of earned income. The other thing to consider is that there is no longer that ability to use that for future investment opportunity. So just things to consider, of course, when we're looking at can you actually spare that money. The other thing is to look at where are you getting that cash from. Do you have to sell a property or an investment? And maybe there's capital gains that have accrued or a depreciation recapture possibly. So different things to consider.
On a similar point to that, another example, or if you're wanting to gift maybe an asset like a stock or a property.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is another way to do it. This does get a little bit more complicated. And so transferring an asset, let's say as an example, we want to transfer the family cottage over. Definitely something you can do, transfer ownership, but you do always want to make sure that you're aware of any accrued capital gains. You will owe tax on that. So you want to make sure you are aware of that. The other thing is if you transfer an income-producing asset, so like an investment or even a rental property, that absolutely can have attribution rules that come into play. So if you transfer it at under fair market value, you may actually have that income coming back and attributed to you. So lots of complicated things to consider. Highly recommend having a tax expert involved so that they can give you advice there too.
And another glaring point, something that a lot of grandparents may be thinking about, is education. A lot of them want their grandchildren to have good education. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. Such a great way to gift to your grandchildren. And it's also an indirect way to gift to your children too, because now they have this excess disposable income because they don't have to save for their kids' education. So really nice. One way you can do it is actually open up a registered education savings plan. And in there you can contribute, and the government will actually give you grants and potentially bonds as well, which is great. And so in an RESP, you always do want to make sure to do one thing, and that is to make sure to have this special wording in your will, and that names a successor subscriber. So in this scenario, the grandparent is the subscriber. You need to name a successor subscriber in your will. If you neglect to do this, unfortunately, the RESP will be collapsed and all the grants and bonds will be returned to the government. So something to consider. Ultimately, there's so many different ways that you can gift. Many of them, of course, have pros and cons. I always recommend getting the advice of your financial planner and tax expert. Make sure that you actually can afford to gift first and foremost, and then have them give you some guidance on the best way to do it for you.
Well, thank you very much, Shandie. Shandie from TD Wealth, an investment advisor. That's all the time we have for today. That's Chat News at noon. All right, we'll see you again at 5.